We all remember the days of sitting at a computer in the computer lab and playing these flash games that were so good to us at the time, but with age they got a little bad, and it didn't take a lot, but we were satisfied with what we have. Playing these games that had no progress to be saved, we would have to start new coming back, and it took little to no effort. We all had terrible computers, everything ran terribly, but we didn't care because we were having fun. What's poppin', everybody, and welcome to my iteration of the worst and best flash games of my childhood. You might have a different iteration here or there, but this is my representation of the best flash game on the internet when I was a child, which is like 2005, 2006, 7. I was 6 or 7 years old. The first game is Slither.io. Slither.io was one of those games that you would just get so mad, but you would be so happy about getting the littlest achievement. You would try to grow from the smallest to the biggest, and once you were the biggest, you would help other people out, but you knew once you circled around that person, they were completely done. Slither.io for me is a solid C. Good game. It's not too crazy, it's not the worst, but it didn't have any crazy mechanics that like really made it a staple for my childhood. The next one is 𝐏𝐄𝐑𝐅𝐄𝐂, which is around the same concept, but you're a cell instead, and you had to grow bigger. And again, this is when people would split off and grab you, and it was the most frustrating thing. So that one, I'm gonna give it C tier as well. These two were games that weren't very pivotal, but they were still fun. The next game is 𝐏𝐄𝐑𝐅𝐄𝐂. So 𝐏𝐿𝐃𝐿 is a relatively newer one. As a child, I didn't really play too much of it, but it was an FPS before I knew FPSs were a thing. So I would play hours of this, and then years at a time, I would never touch it again. 𝐏𝐿𝐃𝐿 was one of those games that you could be good at without trying, but if there was someone else that was good or someone that was cheating, it was like, oh, it didn't really matter because it was free and it was a web browser. I'll give 𝐏𝐿𝐃𝐿 a B tier. It's a little better than 𝐏𝐿𝐃𝐿 and Slither.io, but it's just one of those games. The next one is RuneScape. Old school RuneScape. You would just hear that tune right in the beginning, and you were entranced into this immersive world. And I remember being a kid, and I always got scammed. I remember the first person that told me I could buy a girlfriend in RuneScape, and I fell for it. I gave all my coins and everything. I used to like think that it was my real girlfriend. I was probably in 3rd grade, 4th grade. My friends and I would always reference 𝐏𝐿𝐃 and all those old memes. So I'm gonna put RuneScape at an S tier. For me, RuneScape was just at that level that no other game had been at, and that was the first real game that entranced me and got me into PC gaming, and I sat down for hours and grinded. That was the first grind game I ever played. The next game is Friday Night Funkin'. So Friday Night Funkin', I'm not gonna lie, it's a super recent game, but it's completely taken over the internet from Newgrounds. It's most fun rhythm games I've ever played in my entire life, including Guitar Hero and Parappa the Rappa and Dance Dance Revolution and Osu. I played all these games before, but none of them really capture that essence of getting yourself into the beat. To me, at least, I think Friday Night Funkin' came out of nowhere, and it really captured rhythm games for me. And for that, I'll give it an A tier on this list. Happy Wheels is one of those games that everyone played. Every single person has played it, whether you saw it from PewDiePie, Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, Dashie, Corey Kenshin. Everyone and anyone knew what this game was. Your mom knew about it, your dad knew about it, your grandma knew about it. Everyone knew what Happy Wheels was, and it was one of those games that really changed gaming forever. And I will forever be grateful for Happy Wheels. I could play it right now and be just as happy as I was when I was 6 years old, 7 years old, playing Happy Wheels on like a beaten down, torrented version of Windows. I'm giving Happy Wheels an S tier. There's no other tier that it could be at. The next game is Run. So Run 3D, Run 1, 2, 3, it doesn't really matter which one it is, just all of them. Run was one of those games that the teacher's talking for too long and she's nagging. You're just not connecting with the teacher at all. Like, you could care less. You type in cool math games, you would start playing Run, you would put the roller skates on. Everyone knew if you put the roller skates on, you were really like, you were into Run, like you were good at that game. The computer teacher would come up behind me and be like, you're done. For that one, I'm gonna give Run A tier. I know it was a close S tier, but it has to really be a legendary game. The next one on the list is Balloons Tower Defense. This game was one of the most iconic tower defense games of all time. You would hear the music and immediately know what it was. Everyone would talk about it, how you got this, there's secret upgrades, everything like that. It's still trending today, so you know it's a good game. So I'm gonna put Balloon Tower Defense. It's another one of those games that didn't necessarily pave the way for anything, but it had a certain charm to it that was just so good that I'm gonna put it at an A tier. It isn't quite legendary. It didn't change gaming forever, but it was definitely an enjoyable experience, and it's a lot better than some of these other games. Next on the list is gonna be the Google games like Atari Breakout and Zerg Rush. Those two games alone could just keep you occupied for hours. They don't have much content, but Atari Breakout was one of those games that was so simple, and all it would do was change the pictures. You didn't have something to do, say you finish your project in the computer lab. You would go just type in Atari Breakout, and then it was so easy to just click the Google button when the teacher's coming by, and they'd be like,
"Oh, what were you doing?"
Be like, I was on Google, I was just looking up pictures of things.
Oh, okay, you're not playing games or anything, you've already finished.
Then you could just type in Atari Breakout, click images, and boom. For not having much substance but making it so easy, I'm gonna put the Google games at a B tier for me. The next one is gonna be Age of War. Anyone that grew up in the early 2000s would hear the Age of War music and you were immediately in the zone. You would start from the Stone Age, people beating each other with clubs and sticks, and you'd go all the way up to the robot. And I remember going up against the AI and I thought it was so difficult. They would be on like the Stone Age going into they're getting muskets and stuff in the next age, and you're just getting to the Stone Age. This is one of the first games I ever played. So for me, this game has to go in A tier. So the next one is Club Penguin. Club Penguin needs no introduction. Every person I know that has played games played Club Penguin, and it's probably gotten banned. I remember my first account, I cursed at somebody for throwing a snowball at me, and I got banned immediately. And you could just play with your friends anywhere. It didn't matter what computer you had. The card jutsu thing, I remember so many funny moments of betting candy and stuff. It has to go into S tier. There's no other place for Club Penguin to go into except for S tier. The next game is the Impossible Quiz. The Impossible Quiz was the most infuriating game that made me rage quit so many times. For the first time in my life as a child, I would be like, what am I doing? What is this? Why am I on the computer playing this, subjecting myself to this torture? The rating for the Impossible Quiz for me is a solid B. Henry Stickmin. Probably the first game I ever played that gave you multiple choices and changed the story based on your choices. I talked to my friends about, and they didn't get the same ending as I did. And I didn't know you could play it again. I thought it was just done. I would replay it and just go through all the different animations, and I thought they were so funny. Referencing a lot of other games that, oh, what is this one from? Oh, maybe I want to play that game. Most of you probably won't agree with it, but I'm gonna put it S tier. The next game is called Bowman. I can be like, oh, that bow and arrow game. And everyone knows the one where you shoot back and forth. And this was a good game to play with somebody else, like on a mobile device or something. You had to play it, but not really went back to it. Like if I went back to it now, it would be way less fun than I was sitting in the gym 1v1ing one of my friends on my iPod. For that, I'm gonna put it at D tier. I know that people might not agree with it. It is one of those like legacy games, like one of the first like stick games. The next game is the Papa's franchise in total. Everyone played it. We weren't being forced to do it, and it gave us the freedom to like make the food, and we wanted to fulfill the orders, but you had the option to just layer cheese as high as you want. And it was the satisfaction of getting the orders done and leveling up and getting different clothes and changing everything. For this, I'm gonna put Papa's, the whole franchise. It's gotta be up there at a B. You know what? No, I'm gonna move Papa's up to an A tier. It has to be up at the A tier. It's just too nostalgic to not be at an A tier. The next game is so similar to Age of War that it's almost the same game for me. Stick War was one of the games that made boys into men. You had the ability to farm gold and coins and send out units, and you could upgrade your unit. Having this constant battle where you determined you would win or you would lose. I'm gonna have to put Stick War at an A as well. It was just like Age of War in the sense of the waves, but there was something about it. The music, the atmosphere. The next game is Raft Wars. I really didn't play it all that much, but I knew about it and my friends played it. The levels were cool, it looked cool, it ran pretty nicely. To me, it was just like an Angry Birds type of thing. I'll give Raft Wars a B. The next one is Toss the Turtle. So I used to watch the YouTuber that made this, most gory cartoons, and I love them so much, but this game, it just wasn't it for me. The turtle, and it would bounce and see how far you can get it, it just wasn't fun to me, and I'm gonna give Toss the Turtle C tier. The next game we talk about is Bloxors. This game was the bane of my existence. I absolutely hated this game and how much it made my little boy brain work for no reason. How many moves, and you gotta move this way to move that way, move this way to move that way, and I'm gonna stick with my hate for Bloxors. I'm putting it in the D tier. The next game is Cut the Rope. You probably had it on your iPod. Playing this game was either the most fun and satisfying thing that you could do, or it would be the most infuriating. I remember being on my iPod and my mom would hit a pothole and my finger would fly across the screen and cut the rope wrong. And I remember I used to like want to scream on the top of my lungs and do that thing where you like pretend to like behind her back flip your mom off. For that, I'm gonna put Cut the Rope at a B. The next game on this list is Plants vs. Zombies. Plants vs. Zombies was one of the first wave games that had multiple lanes and it mattered where you placed things. With Age of War and Stick War, you didn't really have to think of where you were putting something because it didn't matter. You knew that you had to put your full brain power. You had to use that
Big noggin!
That huge brain.
to be able to defeat those zombies. And when you saw that zombie with the cone on his head and he was just sitting there like crip walking down the little grass part, you knew you were placing 100 million pea shooters because you couldn't upgrade yours. Plants vs. Zombies, for me, is going into the S tier. So this is my list. If you guys disagree... Oh, I'm missing one? Wait, what one am I missing? You can't make a top tier gaming list without having the big boy, Roblox. Roblox was one of those games that literally changed my perspective of gaming for the rest of my life, to where I will still play Roblox now and other people will still play Roblox now, just for some of the experiences. The amount of creativity and the universe that it has. It's like its own world. You can make any game, any concept, anything can go in the game. You can code whatever you want. You can have a clothing store. You can have a first-person shooter. You can have an anime game. You can have emulators of the games that we've been talking about here. It's a game that was built by the community. And for this, I'm making a new tier called God tier. There is no other category that Roblox deserves to go into. That game has so much influence over society and has so much influence over children from multiple generations that there's nothing that can compare to it. The closest one is probably RuneScape, but it still loses by mile. That's my list. Remember to like and subscribe.